Before we dive into the story, if content like this resonates with you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below to share your thoughts. Pushpin, every interaction from you helps us grow and continue bringing you more real, heartfelt stories. Thank you for being here. Now let's begin. A knock echoed through the silence, marking the beginning of an unexpected turn of events. A delicate, soothing tap that felt far from ominous, merely a tender nudge that life continued beyond the serene confines of my home. I made my way to the door, clad in my robe, my hair still clinging to moisture from the lackluster shower I had indulged in earlier that morning. As I swung the door open, my mind conjured images of the mailman or perhaps a familiar neighbor standing on the threshold. Yet it was Liam, the son of my closest companion, 20 lofty, a touch clammy from the sweltering summer warmth, adorned in a white tank top that embraced his chest and accentuated his arms perfectly. His tousled curls framed his face, and his grin held a youthful charm. "Hello, Miss Elena," he said, raising a small box in his hands. "My mother requested that I deliver this to you." His voice resonated with a depth I had long forgotten. For a brief instant I found myself blinking, then a smile crept across my face. "Liam. Oh dear. It has been months since our last encounter." He presented the package to me, and I caught a whiff of the delicate aroma of soap and cologne intertwined with the essence of sunlight. Indeed, I've been quite occupied with my studies and various commitments. However, my mother emphasized that this held great significance. "Step inside," I urged, moving aside to make room. "Allow me to present you with a refreshing glass of lemonade." He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Only if you are certain. I must insist." He entered the room, and the ease of his movements, imbued with a certain confidence, left my throat parched. Perhaps it was the manner in which his tank unveiled just enough to conjure the rest in one's mind. Perhaps I had simply been adrift in solitude for far too long. I filled 2 glasses and offered him one. For a fleeting moment, our fingers grazed against each other. He gazed at me with his profound brown eyes and offered a smile. "By the way, you look fantastic." I chuckled, perhaps a tad too hastily. "This ancient garment protests." "No, seriously," he said, taking a sip. "You continue to possess that remarkable quality." The words lingered in the air between us, ethereal and elusive, much like wisps of smoke. Perilous, sugary haze. We found ourselves in the living room. I folded my legs, a sudden awareness washing over me as I noted the looseness of my robe. Liam's gaze darted, if only for a fleeting moment, to my exposed thigh before he averted his eyes with a semblance of decorum. I cleared my throat. "How is school treating you these days?" "Boring," he remarked, a grin spreading across his face. "I would prefer to engage in a hands-on activity." I took a deep breath. The atmosphere shifted. Perhaps it was merely a figment of my imagination. Perhaps it was merely my own wild musings. Yet I sensed it. I savored another sip of lemonade, making an effort to maintain a cheerful tone. "It seems you have quite the knack for handling tools, don't you?" "Indeed," he remarked. "Occasionally, I lend a hand to my uncle with plumbing tasks." In an instant, a thought crept into my consciousness, seemingly pure on the surface, yet tinged with a shadowy undertone lurking beneath. "My shower has been behaving oddly," I remarked. "Reduced pressure. Cold water is something I absolutely despise. Would you mind taking a moment to examine this?" He straightened his posture. "At this moment, time is on your side." He smiled broadly. "Guide the path forward." I escorted him to the bathroom. With each step, my robe swayed, and I made no effort to adjust it. He crouched beside the tub, turning knobs, inspecting pipes. I lingered in his shadow, observing the way the sinewy muscles of his back shifted beneath the delicate fabric of his tank top. "There's a leak down here," he remarked, extending his hand deeper into the shadows. "It seems that a washer may need to be replaced. Is there a way to mend it?" "Indeed. It seems a trip to the hardware store may be in order." I nestled beside him, drawing nearer than was necessary. Our shoulders brushed against each other. His breath seemed to hang in the air for a fleeting moment. He gazed at me, and this time he held my gaze. Our faces hovered in close proximity, excessively silent. His gaze lingered on my lips before drifting down the relaxed drape of my robe. I ought to have distanced myself. I ought to have spoken up, yet I refrained. He did not either. The quiet conveyed our unspoken words. "Thank you, Liam," I murmured. "What is the purpose?" His voice was soft, as if sharing a hidden truth. For rekindling emotions within me once more. He remained silent. He simply gazed at me. In that instant, I realized everything had shifted. That night, I reclined in bed, my fingers brushing against my lips as if he had pressed his own to them. He had not. Not at this moment, yet I yearned for him to. I ought not to have done that. He was the son of my closest friend, youthful, attractive, inquisitive, yet desire knows no boundaries. And I had merely unlatched the door to an inevitability that I could not shut. The following morning, thoughts of Liam consumed my mind. Those eyes of his. Those hands of his. His gaze held a depth that suggested I was more than merely a mother. More than just an aging widow draped in silk. I stood before the mirror, gently brushing my hair, my robe cinched a touch more snugly today. Yet, I observed the way my skin radiated, seeing a reflection of someone rediscovering something long buried, despite the fact that he had not laid a finger on me. A knock at the door echoed once more. My heart leapt. Could it have been him? I opened it, and indeed there he stood. Liam. Yet on this occasion he was not clad in a tank top. He donned a fitted black t-shirt that accentuated his chest, with jeans that draped perfectly. In his grasp he clutched a small, unassuming brown bag. He lifted the bag and declared, "Brought the washer. I plan to complete the repairs on your shower." I stifled a soft laugh, masking the rapid thrum of my heart beneath the surface. "Your kindness is truly appreciated." He entered once more as if he had always been a part of this place. I observed his movements at ease and self-assured, exuding a subtle power. We made our way to the bathroom once more. The fabric of my robe glided softly over my thighs. His eyes caught sight but quickly moved on. He sank to his knees beside the tub, unzipped the bag and began his task. I perched on the rim of the tub, observing him intently. I made an effort to avert my gaze, yet I faltered. "You keep looking at me," he said, his gaze fixed elsewhere. A smile graced my lips. "Your appearance is quite pleasing." He raised his eyes gradually, locking onto my stare. "You are as well." Once more that silence enveloped the space, drawing you in more profoundly than any words could convey. "In need of a towel?" I inquired abruptly, rising to my feet with unexpected haste. "Indeed," he remarked, "my hands are damp." I pivoted and made my way to the linen cabinet. The fabric of my robe gently slid down my shoulder. I left it as it was. As I pivoted, he was there, nearer than he had been moments ago. Water cascaded from his hands. In a hushed tone, I offered him the towel. He accepted it, but rather than drying his hands immediately, he lifted his fingers and delicately brushed a droplet of water from my collarbone. His touch was gentle, excessively gentle. I drew in a quick breath. "Elena," he uttered as if seeking confirmation. As I gazed into his eyes, guilt was absent. Only warmth, desire, marvel. I let him go unimpeded. His hand glided to my waist. And then in an instant, he looked at me for a long moment, as if asking a question neither of us dared to voice. It lacked speed. It lacked any sense of wildness. The pace was languid, delightful, experimentation in progress. I surrendered to him, my fingers gliding along his chest, sensing the rapid rhythm of his heartbeat mirroring my own. He withdrew ever so slightly. "I've been wanting to do that since yesterday," he remarked. I took a deep breath. "I have desired that long before you arrived at my door." That confession shattered a barrier that existed between us. He pressed his lips against mine once more, this time with a greater intensity. I adjusted my robe gently, feeling the light brushing my skin like a soft whisper, and I made no effort to close it. His hands roamed over me as if I were a novel he had longed to delve into, tracing every curve, every inch, every soft sigh I struggled to suppress. Once more, I found myself in the essence of womanhood. More than a widow, more than merely a mother. I was yearned for. yearned, vibrant. In the quiet aftermath, we found ourselves sprawled on the plush bathroom rug, our bodies entwined, hearts racing in unison. Silence enveloped us, neither of us finding the words to break the stillness. At last Liam murmured, "Was that all right?" I shifted my gaze and regarded him. "Superior to satisfactory." He added, "I didn't want to push you. I told you you didn't. I desired this just as fervently as you did." He smiled, a genuine radiant smile that rendered him not only younger but also imbued with an undeniable strength. I suggested that perhaps we ought to keep this to ourselves. He inclined his head in acknowledgement. They simply wouldn't grasp it. I gazed up at the ceiling. I find myself perplexed by it all, yet I hold no regrets. Yet I refrained. In that cozy, intimate bathroom, I rediscovered something I believed was gone: desire, touch, connection. A feeling that transcends mere solitude. It arrived in the guise of a 20-year-old boy, awakening within me the essence of womanhood once more. The following morning, I found myself clad in Liam's black t-shirt. The scent was reminiscent of him, fresh, youthful, and brimming with playful mischief. He departed after our encounter in the bathroom, a nervous smile playing on his lips and his cheeks tinged with color. Yet, just before he stepped through the door, he drew me in for one final kiss. "Take your time this time around," extended, as if he longed to etch the memory of my flavor into his mind. As I strolled barefoot into my kitchen, his shirt draping mid-thigh, the lingering warmth of his hands enveloped me. The tingling lingered, refusing to fade. I filled my mug with steaming coffee, settled at the counter and gazed out the window. The sun hung high in the sky. The melodious chirping of birds filled the air. Yet within me, a tempest had begun to brew. What actions did we take? I had reached the age of 50. At the age of 19, he stood on the precipice of adulthood. The son of my closest companion. I ought to have put an end to it. I ought to have distanced myself from him. Yet I did not. For the first time in years, I felt the warmth of a touch. Truly moved. Beyond mere contact, it's a connection of souls. He acknowledged my presence in a way that resonated deeply. At the stroke of noon, my phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. Piece of writing. "Liam, would it be all right if I came over later?" I gazed at the message, allowing it to linger in my thoughts for a moment. My thumbs lingered above the keyboard, poised for action. I responded affirmatively. "Indeed." The doors swing wide. My heart raced the instant I pressed send. At 2 p.m., he reappeared in my doorway, a bag of groceries in hand. He stepped inside and declared, "I thought I'd whip up something special for you today. Are you cooking now?" I inquired, arching an eyebrow. He grinned. "Not quite well, but I make an effort." I departed and guided him toward the kitchen. He placed the bag on the ground and retrieved pasta, tomatoes, and a modest block of cheese. In that fleeting moment, he appeared utterly innocent, so achingly normal. This was hardly unusual. This was our usual routine. As he brought the water to a rolling boil for the pasta, I busily diced the ripe tomatoes, preparing for the symphony of flavors to come together. We toiled together, our shoulders brushing against each other from time to time. At times, our fingers brushed against one another as we both reached for the same spoon. Fleeting glimmers, innocuous yet undeniably alluring. "Elena," he inquired softly. "What's that? Did I overstep my bounds yesterday?" I hesitated. My gaze fell upon him. I perceived something deeper than merely a teenage boy infatuated. A man stood before me, brimming with questions and an insatiable curiosity, and perhaps, just perhaps, something more profound. "No," I whispered gently. "You have not crossed anything. We both ventured into something together." He inclined his head in acknowledgement. Yet the stillness that ensued revealed his lingering uncertainty. "I understand that this isn't typical," he remarked. "You have aged. You are simply yourself. What am I? Exquisite. Intelligent. Beyond my reach." I blinked. Then a smile graced their lips. "Your kindness is truly delightful." He gazed at me as if there were unspoken words lingering in the air. Yet he moved in closer. His fingers brushed against my cheek. "May I kiss you once more?" he inquired, his voice scarcely rising above a whisper. I inclined my head in acknowledgement. And in that moment our lips found each other once more, gentler this time, more unhurried. Exercise greater caution. His arms encircled my waist, and I felt myself surrender to his embrace. My hand glided beneath his shirt, fingers tracing the contours of his abdomen. He inhaled sharply, and that sound awakened a profound emotion within me. Our lips met fervently, the water bubbling and hissing in protest against the heat of the stove. Eventually, we found ourselves on the couch, plates of half-eaten pasta resting in our laps, sharing laughter over the dismal flavor of our meal. Perhaps we should have opted for pizza, I playfully suggested. He offered a smile. Next time, I shall allow you to take the reins in the kitchen. His hand lingered on my exposed thigh, fingers tracing delicate circles. I remained still. I remained unperturbed. I desired it. It was essential for me. Are you afraid? He inquired abruptly. I paused to reflect. Indeed. Yet I hold no regrets. He leaned in and pressed his lips against my shoulder. I feel the same way. Once more, it beckoned that irresistible pull. The tension that lingers between the purity of innocence and the inevitable mischief we were aware would lead us astray. Yet, in that instant it held no significance. What truly mattered was the sensation of his touch, awakening a sense of renewal within me, as if I were blossoming once more. Vibrant, seeking, adored? Not at this moment, yet perhaps in the fullness of time. That evening, he lingered a bit longer before departing. We reclined in bed, his chest pressed against my back, his breath gently caressing my neck. His hand sought mine beneath the sheets, grasping it firmly, radiating warmth and a sense of security. In that moment it dawned on me. This was more than a fleeting instant. This was evolving into something greater, perilous situation, something genuine. To all my amazing Ella Infidelity Stories subscribers, I appreciate your dedication in staying with us until the very end. You are the very essence of this channel. If you find yourself here for the first time, I invite you to press that subscribe button and join a community that embraces the courage to feel, love, and venture into the unknown. Let us plunge into the concluding chapter. The morning sun filtered through my bedroom window, painting golden stripes across the sheets. Liam lay peacefully beside me, his hand delicately placed on my waist, his breath a gentle whisper against the nape of my neck. He appeared serene, so very young, so exposed. I observed him intently for an extended period. This young lad, this individual, the son of my closest companion. What led us to this moment? How did a single package evolve into a fervent passion? With deliberate caution, I eased myself out of bed, mindful of the need to keep him undisturbed. As I lingered by the mirror, drawing my robe tightly around me, the gravity of our actions finally pressed down upon my chest. What might others express? What might she express? His mother, my dearest companion for more than 2 decades. What would her gaze reveal if she discovered that her son had pressed his lips against mine, caressed my skin, and breathed my name as I lay quaking beneath him? Could she ever find it in her heart to forgive me? Liam stirred from his slumber shortly thereafter. He approached me from behind in the kitchen, encircled my waist with his arms, and placed a tender kiss in the curve of my neck. "Morning," he murmured, his eyes heavy with sleep yet brightened by a smile. "Good morning," I murmured, yet my voice carried a distinct quality. Strained. "Exercise caution," he observed immediately. "What's the matter?" he inquired. I rotated within his embrace, cradling his face gently in my palms. "Liam, we must have a conversation." His smile dimmed. He was aware. "This cannot continue," I murmured gently. "We ventured beyond boundaries, and I hold no remorse for it. Yet it is intricate, excessively intricate." He remained silent. He gazed into my eyes as if he were seeking something to grasp tightly. "I remarked that you're still young. Yet there's a depth in your eyes that doesn't feel young at all. And I am myself." "You're not just anything," he said swiftly. "You have occupied my thoughts since the very instant I stepped into your home." His words tugged at my heartstrings. Yet, the clamor of my fear drowned everything else out. What would happen if your mother discovers the truth? I murmured. What if this destroys it all? He advanced with measured intent, his hand softly clasping my hips. In that case, we shall exercise caution. Yet, how much longer can we continue to conceal ourselves? I inquired. He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. In that moment of silence, an unspoken understanding settled between us. What we shared had transcended mere desire. It was perilous. The flames danced fiercely, untouched by the presence of water in the vicinity. 2 days slipped away. I refrained from calling him. He failed to send a message. I repeatedly reassured myself that it had come to an end. Yet, on that third afternoon, the sound of my phone broke the silence. It was she, mother of Liam. My heart soared into my throat. I responded, making an effort to maintain a sense of normalcy. "Greetings, darling," she exclaimed with a bright smile. "Liam mentioned that he stopped by to repair your shower. Thank you for allowing him the opportunity to assist. He mentioned that being around you made him feel incredibly mature." I took a deep breath. "He was quite the assistance," I remarked with deliberation. "I swear that boy is maturing into quite the gentleman," she continued. "He mentioned that you prepared pasta for him as well, describing it as terrible yet endearing." I chuckled uneasily. He has a point. A moment of stillness lingered in the air. And then she uttered a phrase that sent a chill coursing through my veins. "You know," she said softly, "he talks about you quite a bit. Indeed, quite a substantial amount. Beyond what a mere neighbor ought to do." My breath hitched. "I'm not sure what's happening, Elena," she said. "But you mean so much to me, like family. I place my trust in you." A knot of guilt coiled tightly within me. Faith. That was the word that shattered me. Under the cover of darkness, I sent a message to Liam. "It is imperative that we cease our actions." His response came with remarkable swiftness. "What is the reason behind this? Your mother is beginning to have her suspicions. This cannot continue." A moment of silence lingered in the air. Then he sent, "Yet I love you." My fingers stiffened against the screen. Affection? My eyes brimmed with tears. It had been years since that word had graced my ears. Yet I was acutely aware of the path I needed to take. "Then love me enough to release this," I replied, "before it obliterates all that exists." His last words arrived, and they echoed with a profound truth. "You will forever be the first woman who awakened my spirit." It has been ages since I last laid eyes on Liam, not since that fateful night. At times, I find myself lingering by the window, anticipating a knock that remains elusive. Yet, I recall the sensation of his touch, the tenderness of his kiss, as if I truly mattered. In that fleeting moment, I transcended the identity of a widow grappling with a broken shower. I became a woman reclaiming the sensation of being desired. At times, love arrives not wrapped in the promise of eternity. At times, it is merely a fleeting instant. A kiss taken in secret, a soft murmur in the shadows. And that must suffice.